Hey everyone, it's Yuka here. Today I'm talking about the Freewell ND and PL filter for the Osmo Pocket. So I got one on here right now, but it's basically like a magnetic little filter that you can snap on and off on the DJI Osmo Pocket. Before I get into that, let me just start by talking a little bit about ND and PL filters. If you're watching this, you probably care about taking cinematic videos on the Osmo Pocket. So in my previous video about the Osmo Pocket, I just shot clips right out of the box and didn't really do any custom like manual settings. One of the complaints I had after looking at the footage is that it looks a little bit too sharp or a little bit jittery. I did set the frame rate to 24 per second, but I didn't mess with the shutter speed at all, and that's what was causing it to look a little bit too sharp. Maybe you guys know about the 180 degrees shutter angle. I have been using that with my DSLR that I'm shooting right now. Right now I am shooting 4K 24 frames per second and a 1/50th of a second for shutter speed, and that's like been my basic, you know, like talking head normal speed video setting. 24 frames per second is a preferred cinematic frame rate for many people. It's what you see in movies. It looks a little bit smoother, I guess. And so a lot of people prefer that. Other frame rates are totally fine too. If you prefer using 30 frames or 60 frames, you just need to change your shutter speed according to that. You basically take the frame rate that you're shooting in, double that, and put it in as your shutter speed. So because I'm shooting in 24 frames per second, my shutter speed right now is 1/50th. If your camera allows, you can do 1/48th of a second because it's double the 24. If you're shooting in 30 frames, do 1/60th of a second. If you're shooting 60 frames, you can do 120th of a second. So that's just basically how it works. Don't know the scientific details, you can probably Google that or see another video about it, but let's just say that's how it is. When I'm shooting in my preferred frame rate, which is 24, and I want to do 1/50th of a second, 1/50th of a second is actually pretty slow shutter speed, which means your shutter is moving slower than when I have it in auto. This morning I took this out for a little spin, and when I put it in auto mode, it was doing like 1/3000 something of a second, which is super fast compared to 50th, meaning it's not letting as much light in. On the contrary, if I have 1/50th of a second, that means it's moving slower and it's taking in a lot more light. So if frame rate and shutter speed is not a variable, then I need to control how much light comes into the lens in another way. And that's why I need an ND filter. So ND filters are like sunglasses for your camera, and in this set there are 3 ND filters, one just PL filter, which I'll get into a second, and then 4 ND and PL filters. So the ones that are just ND, they come in 3 different strengths, 4, 8, and 16. The ND and PL come in 4 different strengths, 8, 16, 32, and 64. Depending on how bright it is or how fast your shutter speed is, you can pick and choose what you want to use and use the right one for that situation. PL filters are kind of similar to ND filters, but they cut out certain types of reflections or certain kind of light. How I think of it is ND filters are like, it's like a dark filter for everything, and it will just darken everything. But PL filters are for certain angles and certain way that light reflects. So it doesn't make everything darker. It lets you see through reflections that are otherwise like too bright to see. You can also probably look that up elsewhere because I'm not the expert. But basically what it does is if you're shooting cars or glass or windows or water that has a lot of reflections, you can use a PL filter to cut out certain reflections. For this Freewell set, the ones that have the PL filter, it looks like this, and it has a little circle, like a little wheel that you can turn to adjust how much you want to cut out that reflection. But you can just, again, like magnetically put this on and then turn this to where you want it. It also works for sky and nature shots because there's a lot of little dust and particles in the air that you can't see, but is also reflecting a lot of light from the sun. So when your PL filter works correctly, it'll cut out reflections of little specks in the air, which makes the skies more blue and the leaves more green. It makes your footage look a little bit more saturated and less blown out. And if you have one like this, which has PL and ND, you can use it in very, very harsh light and cut out like overall brightness and cut out like the little reflections with the PL filter. So this morning I went and shot some comparison videos that you can take a look here. PL filter with the 32 ND, but if you look at the sky here, you can see that it becomes darker when I turn it around and lighter, darker and lighter. Another thing I love actually is that when you have this on, you can put this back in the case. It doesn't interfere with this case, and you can just have it on the go without taking it on and off. So that's also a big plus. I think the beauty of the DJI Osmo Pocket is like, it's great for anyone in all the different spectrums of how well versed you are in video. For super beginners, you can just pick this up and run around with stable image, and it's great for if you're shooting like children or dogs or your family or your travels, and you really don't have to think about all the different settings. But if you are looking to maximize its full potential, because it has a lot of potential, you can go into the pro mode and set all of the different settings as you would in a professional like DSLR cameras, and that will help your footage look a little bit more cinematic and less sharp and jittery in certain situations. In order to do that, you will need an ND filter and sometimes a PL filter. So when I started out on YouTube, I had no idea at all what I just talked about. I was just filming on my iPhone, and the next step was go to a point and shoot. Gradually, I just learned about all these different theories and how to make cinematic sequences and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying everyone should do that, but if you are at the point where you want to control the shutter speed and frame rate and all that good stuff, I really love the Freewell set so far because it just covers you for like pretty much any condition that you may have with all the different filters here. Actually, Freewell sent me 2 more filters that are not in the set, which I'm really excited to try out as well. So if you're not subscribed already, please do so and stick around for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!